Street Specialist Showcase has begun.
This was terrible. That just sounds like a dumb movie.
I'm sure there's plenty of podcasts. So funny.
The following is a fan-off production.
They call me Alice in Wonderland. They try to lure me with a man. Go, oh, what do you know? Is that a rabbit hole? Oh, I gotta see where we go. So off with my head, fell in love again. You lose your head, you lose your heart, fall apart.
What's up, all you stars and studs? This is former WWE Diva and current First Lady of Ring of Honor, Maria Kanellis, and I am here with my co-host, which I thought we were going to be in the same room, but that is not possible for reasons that I don't really understand because I'm not very technical. Ring of Honor superstar, actor, really good at taking care of dogs.
This is
my fiance, Michael Bennett.
Live from our bedroom.
Well, our bedroom here. We don't really have an official bedroom right now.
You're in the basement. I'm on the roof. And we are podcasting it. We are both in the same state, though, so that's a first.
We're actually in the same house. We just can't be in the same room.
No, because apparently it echoes. Echo.
And that would drive me insane.
Insane.
And you're not helping.
Okay, I'll stop. Before you kill me.
I think that someone that might be dead this week is possibly some of Mr. McMahon's advisors.
Yeah.
I think they might die or be killed.
I think anyone within striking distance of Vince might die.
This is true. That might happen.
I think if I lost $350 million, I would just kill everybody.
Really?
I don't know. It depends on how much I still had left.
Well, he has $750 million left.
Oh, well, then I'd be all right. I'd just be like, it's like I left $20 in my jeans and it went through the wash and now it's gone.
I think that's a lot more than $20.
No, I don't think so.
Isn't that insane? Like, I don't think people understand that necessarily the magnitude of that. That is a huge loss.
That's a lot of money. I mean, that's like more than most successful businesses made.
The price per stock dropped something like $8 in one day.
It was more than that, wasn't it?
Well,
didn't it go from like 30 something down to 11?
It did, but that was over time. It started dropping right after WrestleMania is when it started dropping. And the reason why it dropped in the first place was because the pay-per-view buys were down and everybody was very upset with that. But then it continued to drop after that, and then it dropped so much last Friday because they got the results back of how many buys there were to the network. Mm-hmm. And they found out that it was about $600,000 less than they were originally predicting.
Ouchie.
Ouchie is right. But, you know, the thing is, I think the network is amazing. Uh-huh. I think, you know, being able to watch any of the things that I've done in my career and being able to do that on demand is, of course, amazing, as I put myself over. But I don't necessarily understand where they got their numbers from. They said that about 2.2 million people possibly could buy the network. But that is just a possibility. That's how many people will buy the network. And what I've learned, especially with Twitter followings and Facebook and things such as that, you only get about a 5 to 10% turnover from that. So if they're taking the 5 to 10% ratio, then they did just fine. But they thought maybe 50%. Who thinks 50%? I don't necessarily understand. And we have a guest tonight. Mike, do you want to introduce our guest?
Nah. I think
I always
should,
do the
I think he
introduction.
should introduce himself.
You need to do the introduction.
I forget who's our guest. No. Are they? They're here, right? Is he here?
They're here.
You're here, Mr. Tommaso. Mr. Tommaso Ciampa, are you there?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have the one, the only Ring of Honor star and former television champ, Tommaso Ciampa. What's up, buddy?
Hey, man. I think I've known you for 10 years now, and this is the first time we've spoken over the phone.
No. Well, I am terrible at speaking on the phone, but
as am I, my son. As am I.
We have had many conversations, maybe 2 total.
Possibly.
I've known you for what? Yeah, you said 10 years? But this is probably the second time we've spoken. How do you pronounce that? Speaking on the phone. It's all right. We text all the time. We're texting buddies.
Texting, yeah.
It's a
what's up?
Strange phenomenon, the
man.
texting thing.
The texting thing, yeah, it's a great way to communicate without actually dealing with people.
I've often, I've thought about it. Do you think that's why people like to text? Because you don't have to have this, interaction like a human being. You can just kind of say what you want.
Yeah, and I think it's because you can kind of gather yourself before responding.
Yeah, that's true. And then you don't have to actually, think of, you can think of it and it's not really on the fly. It's just kind of right. So if I texted you and I was like, hey, do you want to do something tonight? And you were like, well, I don't really want to. But had I asked you that over the phone, you may not have been quick enough to think of something to be like, well, it's my wife's birthday or the dog needs to be washed or something like that.
White lies are so much easier via text.
This is true. And plus, I don't – you know what's the worst? And I hate this, and I have a lot of people that do this to me. They text me. And they're like, hey, what's going on? And I'll respond and be like, hey, what's up? And then they call you. That's the worst. Because
the call after the text. Yeah, I agree.
Because then they know that you're around and you're responding.
Right. It's like they trick you is what they do.
Yeah, there's really
I think it most definitely is a trick.
It is a trick.
For sure is a trick. And it's like, why do you need to call me? Do you need to hear me on the other end of the line? Is this going to make you happy to have me on the phone when I could be doing my laundry and texting you every so often? But no, now I've got this phone attached to my ear.
Yeah,
I hate it.
It's pretty annoying.
It's extremely
It's like Little
annoying.
Rascals when they have the dollar bill attached to the rope and they just dangle it in front of the kid, just drawing him in.
Yeah.
Especially when, I don't know if you get this with promoters, that happens sometimes, and it's a promoter you've never met before from, Ohio, and they're messaging you on Facebook or something, or whatever it be, and it's like, oh, hey, so what airport do you fly out of? And you answer that, and then as soon as they see you answered right away, it's like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Question after question. Can I have your phone number? Can I have your email?
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, what are we going on a date, dude?
It's it opens up the floodgates all of a sudden.
Right.
Yeah. Now we can talk. Now we're friends, and it's really it's the worst when sometimes we'll give a promoter my number just because I'm like, oh, it's easier to text me and this and that, and then they text me at 12:30 at night, on a weekday, and I'm like, I have other things going on in my life than to cut this promo that you've been bugging me to cut, and stop texting me at 12:30 at night when I'm trying to sleep. And you guys definitely get this one. I just got this an hour ago where it was a fan asked me a question and I responded. I tend to respond to most of them if I can. Mm-hmm. And then they followed up with a second question. And I was eating dinner. I didn't get back right away. And then 3 more questions of, don't you remember me? Why aren't you answering me? I thought we were friends. It's like, dude, we can be friends. Just give me 2 seconds to respond, Oh, I love that. I get that on Facebook all the time where they'll just constantly send me Facebook messages. And then after the 20th of not responding, it's usually someone from a different country, so it's broken up English. And it's like, oh, why you not like me? And I'm like, well, maybe because you asked me 20 questions is why I not like you.
You don't care about your German fans.
So me not responding to you represents my hatred for all of Germany. All of this
that's how it works, man.
Last night we were sitting, hanging out, watching a movie, and I get a text message asking me what I thought about Cincinnati getting the final pick. Oh, Cleveland
getting the first pick in the NBA draft.
I'm like, what? It's a text message. And I'm like, what in the world? Obviously, this person must have the wrong number. I'm telling Mike, I was like, it's got to be the wrong number. So I was like, I'm sorry, who are you trying to talk to? And he's like, oh, Maria. And I was like, oh, well, come to find out, it's this radio, it's like an interviewer from a radio show that I had done one time. So the guy had my phone number from this radio interview thing, and he thought that last night at, I don't know, what time was it?
It was like 11:30.
He thought that was a good time to text me about
to
Cleveland.
Ask you about the Cleveland
I thought
Cavaliers.
you were going to say. I thought you were going to say it was Johnny Gargano because he's from Cleveland and cares about the sports so much. And he was like, "Man, what does Maria Kanellis think about this, though?"
I need to know at 11:30 at night. Please
I'm
tell
not
me.
going to sleep a wink unless she tells me what she thinks.
That is the one thing I do hate about text messaging is that people think that it's okay to text you after a certain time because you're not actually talking to them on the phone. So they think, it's a good time to text them in the middle of the night. And usually I turn my phone on silent. But sometimes I have to leave my phone on so I can wake up in the morning, or I have my alarm on. And so then I'll have in the middle of the night these little bling, bling, bling. Feel like I'm in some kind of a casino or something with these things going off in the middle of the night. So my
wife and I have gone to war over that, where I put mine on vibrate with the alarm on, and I always put it on a pillow or a towel or something so that I won't hear it. And she always puts hers just right on the countertop. And I go to war with her because I'm like, listen, I can't hear your Facebook things going off. It's like, I guess I'm just not a heavy sleeper. It doesn't work for me.
So how is married life? You've been married for what now? It was 6 months?
September. So, yeah. I mean, about 9 months maybe now, coming up on our year. Married life for us is just like it was prior because we lived together for, 3 years. And we both travel so much. And she travels more than I do because when she goes and takes a gig for work, she's there for anywhere from, say, 3 weeks to 4 months at a time. Like right now she's in LA, and she's in LA until September 19th or something like that. So married life is, I think that's the recipe for a very healthy marriage. You see each other, then you miss each other, so you want to see each other, and you never get sick of each other, so it's, we really cherish the time we have together, and it's been really good.
So do you think separation is the key to time apart every now and then? Because I can almost relate. Me and Maria see each other every so often, usually 3 or 4 times a month, hopefully, on a good month. Mm-hmm. So and it makes you appreciate, I guess, or miss them more.
Of course. Yeah.
So I can almost agree with you there. I think sometimes marriages fail because they get sick of each other.
It's over-consuming. Yeah. I think if the relationship has that from the start, then it's okay. I think if you saw each other every day and then all of a sudden somebody starts traveling, I assume that's just going to cause a lot of problems. But for us, right from day one, I was wrestling, she was doing TV. Mm-hmm. That's the only life we know together. But don't get me wrong, she's home for a couple months in a row, and I don't have too many shows. It's great. I love seeing her every day. So
yeah.
What does she? I mean, you guys are extremely supportive of each other in your careers. I mean, do you think that has helped you along the way?
Oh yeah, I mean, I lucked out with Jessie. She gets it, is what helps me. She used to be in the business. She did backstage productions for both, say, 3 years each. By the time we met, she was 6 years out of the business. So it was nice where she understood the business. She gets it inside and out, but she's not being a part of it anymore. So it's one of those things where it's I do my thing, she does her thing. But, if I'm out late or, how it is, we get into hotel rooms at random hours. We don't know where Like, you don't even know where you're out to eat at points, and sometimes you try to call, if you're in a relationship with I don't actually. They don't take that so well. With her, it was the whole thing. She's been great about it, and I couldn't ask for anything more. And she's great with her job, and she's one of those people you can trust and stuff. So there's never a concern when she's out on the road and doing her thing.
Mm-hmm. So do you guys foresee a time where you'll live in the same place and slow down a bit, or are you guys planning on doing this for a while where you're both out on the road?
Oh, I have no idea. We're in the process of trying to buy a house, more so as an investment than anything, just because we're sick of giving our rent money away every month. Mm-hmm. But even with that, it would be just a place to keep our stuff. Right now our stuff is in storage, so we're just looking to settle into something. But I don't know. She wants to settle with and have a family at some point, and for her, that would mean she would have to switch her career, just because. Going away for a weekend is one thing. Going away for months at a time, she would never be able to do that with a child at home.
Yeah, I've known some production people that have tried to do both, and it's insanely hard to do. And usually someone has to fly to the other person. I've known a lot of people that have worked on reality shows that, they try and do it, but it is just so extremely tough. So, I definitely think that with me and Mike, we'll have that same issue at some point where it'll be like, okay, well, one of us needs to figure it out.
Right.
I mean, Tommaso, do you ever feel like, with starting a family, you would want to settle down, or you would want to think of, I know I've thought about this plenty of times, and it's like, as you get older, not that we're old, but as you get older, you start thinking about other things besides wrestling. Do you ever see yourself not wrestling and giving that up for a family, or do you think you could manage the whole family with wrestling type lifestyle?
Yeah, I think it would be really hard for me to say bye to, a son or daughter every weekend. Yeah. I don't know that I would. It's hard to say. Like, I think I don't plan things out too far ahead like that. It's one of those things where if maybe you get to a point where, I'm only doing Ring of Honor dates, or maybe it's a point of I'm only doing things close to home. Right. I don't know that I see wrestling being completely out of my life, but I could definitely see it changing the way, my schedule. And it's like right now, especially where I'm really taking almost anything that's around, and there's a little hesitation, for me to say, oh yeah, I'll take a Thursday through Sunday weekend. Why wouldn't I? So I think it would just weigh on my decision making quite a bit more. And then financially too. We're not getting rich on the independent scene. So. Right.
What do you mean? You're not?
Just be me, apparently. I don't know.
Tommaso, how long have you been? Yeah. How long have you been in wrestling?
It's 10 years now, I think. I think it was 2003 I started my training. 2005 I'd had my first show. So I guess 9 years of shows coming on my 10th. And it's been a fun ride.
And you were trained with Harley Race. Who else trained you?
Oh, I would say like Mike Hollow has the. If there's one guy to give it to, it'd be Mike Hollow, because he was Killer Kowalski's head trainer when I started. But then I spent some time in developmental with Al Snow and Robert Gibson, and so after that I went to Harley's. And then everybody that you come across has so much influence over you. I'd say Todd Sinclair, the ref at Ring of Honor, has had a lot of impact on my career as I've come up, as far as the psychology and just kind of match structure and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. How was your time down at OVW?
Not good. Well, it's just one of those things where I was 21. I think I was 21. I might have been 21. I was offered the contract. I'm not sure, but I was 21 when I went down there. And I was such a sheltered 21. I was lived at home my whole life, never went away for college or anything like that. So it was like literally moving from Massachusetts to Kentucky, first time living on my own, get an apartment. So I think I actually heard you talking about this once on the podcast, where you're learning how to be an adult, a grown-up, how to travel, how to do your laundry, how to just handle bills and credit cards, while you're trying to succeed in this insane industry with all this competition and a lot of grown men who have already gone through that learning phase of life. So for me, it was like trying to succeed in two things at once, and it was just way too much for me to handle. So, I mean, it was a good life experience looking back at it, but it was not fun while I was there.
Yeah. I think it's extremely tough for young people going down there. I mean, I went when I was 22, and I had never been out on my own like that before. I had moved out of my parents' house, but it was still around family. You know, this moving to Louisville was all of a sudden you're in the middle of nowhere, basically, away from everything. The only people you do know are the people at OVW, and they aren't necessarily the best friends to have in the world, because at any moment, some of them want to take your spot. So it's like you're constantly trying to juggle all of this stuff, but I think some of
there
it
too, like you and I were together at some points, and you might agree or disagree on this. It wasn't like, for Ring of Honor right now, it feels very much like a family in that locker room.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't feel that way when I was in the movie. But I've heard at NXT it feels that way for the guys, but it just didn't have that. Like, at the time that I came there, Deep South was just closing. There was rumors of OVW closing, which it ended up doing a couple months after I was released. But it was everybody was on these eggshells, and everybody was nervous, and it was like the panic button was just always on, and we were treated a little bit crappy because even upper management was kind of in a panic.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, oh, hey, I'm in this place and it's super welcoming. It was kind of like, oh man, I gotta be careful what I say around this guy or that guy. I gotta just, mind my business, just do my work, get out of here, type of thing. So.
It can be so incredibly, it's like this mind fuck all the time. You're just constantly in this thing of, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to say? Ugh.
Well, I think that's why Ring of Honor is such a cool place to work right now, is because, like you said, it's there are guys there that are probably going through what you went through, Tommaso, the younger guys, but I feel like everyone looks out for each other, whether it be in the ring, outside the ring, where we travel. We make sure everyone's got a hotel room, everybody eats, everyone's there on time. It really is very much like a family where we all pick on each other. There's big brothers, there's little brothers and big sisters and whatnot, but it's like we're all out for the greater good of the show, and that means, looking out for each other. So I think there's something to be said about, the camaraderie with the company of all the guys, and you know what I'm saying? Like, there's just that. Right,
and I think that goes, you and I had come into the company, I think you were maybe a year prior to me, but it goes with how the company's doing too, I think. Like, the company is doing so well right now.
Right.
That it's like it's hard for you to find any reason to not want to be a part of the family. You don't want to be, you want to be a part of the solution. You don't want to be the one problem.
Right.
So I think that also helps it where everybody knows, oh man, we got this pay-per-view, we got this New Japan deal, we have, TV tapings have been selling out, every single time for 2014. So it's like, it's hard not to be in good spirits, it's competitive, I know
absolutely.
For myself with the New Japan shows, I was like, I wish I had a bigger role here.
Right.
But you also understand, like, there's a bigger picture. Your time will come. You'll have moments to shine. But with a roster so talented, it's like anybody can be in any role at any given time, and the company will succeed.
Right, and I think it's kind of cool that with the company, like you said, it's competitive, but I also feel that, like, with Ring of Honor, if you're a guy who is consistently doing his job or consistently performing, you will be rewarded for it at some point. So it's like at one point you can say, because I've gone through it and I know you've gone through it, you have ups and downs where you're like, oh shit, I really wish they were doing more with me right now. I really wish. But if you keep consistently staying good and getting better and improving yourself, I feel like there's always room for opportunity and always room for the guys to get rewarded as long as they're staying consistent and they are being a team player and doing their job. I feel like there's always going to be a part where the management will say, well, you know what, now here's your match that you can go shine and show us what you have.
Right, yeah. There's always super swim moments, and that's a cool thing that we have going right now.
Yeah.
I always talk about how there's that moment where everything can change, and that moment that the Stone Cold Steve Austins of the world become Austin 316s. You know, I think that there's definitely those type of opportunities in any company, but right now, for sure, in Ring of Honor, there's those moments coming. I mean, you know, you hear about these guys coming into the company. I think other people are leaving Ring of Honor, and then we have all these amazing things coming up. So I definitely think there's those moments that you can make a change. Tommaso, what's been your favorite match in Ring of Honor?
You know, the two memorable ones that stick out for just different reasons, I guess, is, you know, with Jay Lethal doing the 2 out of 3 falls with the injury, sticks out just because that was, for me, I think in a situation where it wasn't, going into it, it wasn't thought of, oh, this could be a breakout match. It was, it wasn't one of those, like, final battle shows or something like that.
Right.
But then that happened, it really kind of defined my character going forward in the company. It was kind of like when Eddie Edwards had his you know, broken elbow. It was that moment of like, oh, hey, the guy who plays the tough character actually is tough. And it helps kind of, you know, it helps bring the realism of pro wrestling out.
Yeah.
So that stood out. And, you know, the final battle with Matt Taven winning the television title stands up just because I think everybody wants to hold on to a title in a company. Like, you want that, specifically when you're in one of the top 3 companies in the country. You know, like, it's one of those things that you can call wrestling fake, or it's you know, it's all the outcomes are already out there for you. But at the end of the day, you know, in a company like Ring of Honor, for you to get a title, it's because it has to get it. It's not something that's just handed to people. Right. So that was a cool moment, and just to see how the crowd responded, that was really cool. But I think match-wise, as far as just a favorite match, it was definitely with Adam Cole when we did the semifinals of the heavyweight, the world title tournament. That was just surreal and silly.
Mm-hmm. How did the injury affect you, like, mentally after? I've always wondered, like, a guy gets injured terribly, and then they come back from it. Do you think about it, or do you? Does it not even cross your mind?
Well, like, in ring wise, I don't tend to think about it. I think it's different for me because I've had 4 surgeries now, and my first 2 came right at the beginning of my career. So my style has never been high flyer, you know, diving, flashy. I just don't. It's not something I incorporate because I'm pretty limited when it comes to that. So it never affects me in the ring where I'm like, oh, that thing I used to be able to do, I can no longer do.
Okay.
So in that sense, I'm lucky. But it affects me now just in the sense of like I had tendinitis from this surgery because, you know, they take part of your patella tendon when they do it. And so I've just had these lingering issues where some weeks and months it feels great, and then for like a couple weeks it could be like, oh, really limiting me in the gym and in the ring. But it's, you know, it's nothing more or less than I think any other wrestler goes through with daily aches and pains.
Yeah.
Does it ever cross you? Like, I know for me, when I dislocated my knee, I did it doing a Yakuza kick in the corner. So now, I mean, I don't know if it's the same for you. Every time I go for a Yakuza kick, I do have that slight thought in my head that, oh shit, I hope I don't pop this thing out again. Has that ever, like, because you did it literally just doing like a belly to back and landing on your feet, right?
I didn't. No. Okay, so that's where, you know, the entertainment of pro wrestling, I guess, comes in. It looks better, probably on videotape to put over that's when I did it.
Right.
But I literally did it by standing up in the corner to start the match, charging out and giving a forearm to Jay.
Oh.
So when I stepped and pivoted, my foot planted and my knee went to the left, but my foot didn't go that way, and it just snapped. So it literally, I mean, when it's like people say, oh, opening seconds or opening minutes, it was legitimately, the bell rang, I tore my ACL.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. But no, I don't ever think about it. I think I don't ever think about it because it was from a forearm. You know, it's like, how could you worry
I guess
about
that's true.
It'd be silly to worry. So, yeah.
It would be way cooler if you did it doing a flip, though, by the way. You should.
Yeah.
You should just tell people.
Story. I should stick with that.
Yeah. You know, like I was flipping so high in the air that there was just no way I could land perfectly.
Yeah, it's one of those Andrew Everett double tuck things.
Yeah, just, you know, be like, and that's why I don't dive anymore.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I actually was there the night that Edge he rolled up his Achilles heel, that Achilles tendon. I was there that night, and he did it when he was stepping for a punch, and he just collapsed. And it's always those things that are just weird. And I think it's better because if it was on something, you know, big, then, or if it was on something that was like one of your signatures, then you would never want to do it again. But it could happen when you're walking down the street. That's just, wrestling is just,
that's my fear.
Definitely. So what do you do outside of the ring? What is your
now,
go-tos?
I'm probably pretty lame right now just because I had left my job as of April 1st. So as of April 1st, I just do the wrestling thing. But my other passion, I guess, would be I do a lot with fitness, nutrition, health, stuff like that. So I have, over the last, say, 10 years, I have either done personal training or then I've kind of grown into managing clubs. And that was my last gig. I was running all women's weight loss studio. So I'm pretty good with that type of stuff. What I like to do is help beginners learn about their bodies. Like I'm not big on training athletes who are super competitive about like car cycling, but I love to take somebody who says, "Hey, I've had this sore back forever and I don't know what to do about it," and you know, all of a sudden they learn that if they just strengthen their core and start stretching and start moving and just teaching them just about, you know, how to feel better about life. It's kind of like what DDP does with his yoga, I guess. But I enjoy that. I enjoy taking people who are limited and just teaching them the basics and seeing how much it changes their life, whether it's weight loss or just feeling better or playing with their grandkids or whatever that is. So I like that a lot.
What made you get into? I'm sorry. What made you get into fitness?
When I was little, I wouldn't say I was really super. Like I saw recently, like Elgin post a photo of when he was little, and I was like, "Oh,
that is the greatest photo ever."
It's amazing. So
I love that photo.
I was not that kid, but I was the kid who, like, when Mom took us shopping, I was like, "Oh, we're gonna get the husky department. We're gonna." So I was just overweight enough so that I was like disappointed, or not disappointed, like I don't know, depressed about my body image.
Were you picked on?
Right, exactly. Yeah, that was the problem. Like, I was, like, super picked on. Like, I was picked on real bad, you know, up through grade school into, like, early high school. So it got to a point where, like, it's really silly and sad, but when I first started working out, like, my mom had these 2 ab routine videotapes, like VHS tapes. And I would literally go into my mom's room, and I would do them both. And one was 45 minutes and one was 30 minutes. And I would literally do both videos every night, thinking, like, I have to lose weight. I have to stop being a fat kid. And eventually I did lose weight. Eventually, like, you know, I like any kid, I kind of just grew into my body. But I think I would assume that's what triggers me now to help people. Cause like, depression's real, you know, and when you're dealing with people on a day-to-day basis, like I've seen and heard so many stories that like just they crush you, and you're just like, man, like you don't have to feel this way. Like nobody should feel that way. Nobody should feel depressed about their image or like that nobody understands their knee injury, or nobody understands why they're always tired. But then like all of a sudden you find out, oh, you just have a food allergy, or you know, like your sleep patterns are thrown off, and like you all of a sudden you fix one little issue and like they feel great. So it's like that's why what got me into it is like I had a horrible childhood only in that aspect. Like my family was great and stuff, but in that one aspect of just not having self-confidence. So it's cool to help other people kind of gain that.
Do you think like if you hadn't got into wrestling, that's where you probably would have taken your career?
Well, that's my easy fallback plan. Like my last step, like I take, you know, real life pretty seriously as far as like when I first started in wrestling, it was just about wrestling.
Right.
When I went to WWE, it was like, of course, I'm doing the right thing. I've got signed. Look at this. I'm going to make tons of money. This is great. And then when I got fired, it was like, oh shit, I better have a backup plan.
Right.
So there was this like real quick eye opener, you know, at age 21. So from that point forward, I literally kept putting goals together of like, you need to make this much money this year, or you need to raise, you know, your resume has to go from this to this. So my last goal was literally I wanted to open my own club, from scratch, which I ended up doing that, and we did really well. So I feel fairly confident now that if I wrestle for 2 more years or 10 more years or whatever that is, that when I'm done with it, I could open a studio, commit all my time to it, and, you know, do okay enough to support my family and get by and all that. So in that aspect, I'm lucky, because it's kind of like if you learn a trade, you know, if you learn carpentry or something, like I learned a skill that will not disappear anytime soon. It's always going to be in demand, so that helps a lot.
Do you think it's important for wrestlers to have a backup plan?
I think, yeah. I mean, that's all I preach to the guys that, like, I go and help out at Brian Fury as a school in North Andover, Mass, and every so often I go there, and I tell that to everybody, or anytime somebody asks me, like, about getting into the business, like, it's not about, hey, you got to go to college and get a degree, but it's about, hey, you have to have a skill, a trade, something that you're confident, especially in today's business at wrestling, because it's awesome to just love wrestling and just want to be a wrestler. And if like the life you want to live is content with you never making money, just in case that is the outcome, then I think you're fine. Like if you're that low maintenance, then you're fine. But if there's any plans ever to be like, hey, I do want to have kids and I want to support a family and whatnot, then it's like it's so essential. You know, there's so many factors in wrestling with injuries, and it's just how many careers last, you know, 20 years. Yeah. And even if they do, it's like as soon as they're over, that's it. The income is gone.
It's
you know,
done.
it's just, it's crazy. It's so
it's
crazy.
not even, it's not even like a backup plan for if you don't make it. Like it's a backup plan for what if you do get injured? What if you break a leg? What if, you know, like I think there's so many factors in wrestling that, I mean, it's already hard enough to make it and be successful, or even make a living in any of the 3, major companies. But then there's just so many factors that go into it that you can't even plan for. And I think it, like you said, it's pivotal, because you could, be projected as the biggest star this side of the Mississippi, but you step in the ring and you fracture your neck. Doctor says you can't wrestle anymore. What are you going to do? You know, you have to have something.
I always think that wrestlers wrestle better when they have other options, when they're just doing it, not because necessarily they have to, but because they really want to.
Right. I think that's a big factor. It's not just really wanting to, because I think even if wrestling's your only income, but you really want to do it, you still love it, that's all fine. But I think it's that like having that knowledge in the back of your head that like, hey, if this company releases me, I'm okay financially.
Right.
Like it suddenly kind of puts the ball a little bit more in your court, as opposed to like if WWE was to come to two different wrestlers, and one of those wrestlers they offer a contract to, and they ask him, "What do you have going on?" That wrestler says, "I have nothing going on." They're going to offer him the lowest contract they possibly can. They're like, "Well, what else is he going to take?"
Yeah.
They go to the next wrestler, and he's like, "Hey, I run my own real estate business." Well, they have to now give him something that's going to help, persuade him to say, "Oh, I'm going to put that aside, and I'm going to take this offer." So I think that always helps too. It's like one of those things where it's like, it's nice to know, hey, I have this cushion, and it depends what you're doing wrestling for. Like, I know in my case personally, like, I just love wrestling. So making money was never a thought process for me with wrestling. Like, when I started to make a little, I said, oh, that's awesome. I'm actually going home with money in my wallet as opposed to losing money. But I never started doing this because I have to be a millionaire. I really enjoy doing this. So it's great for me to think, oh, okay, I have this cushion as far as financially goes. And I think that's the thing for guys. Like, I don't know that it's like even a backup plan is the right way to say it. It's almost like wrestling's realistically a hobby, if you want to break it down. Like, it's a thing you love to do, and you can work your job and then go do the wrestling thing because you love to do it.
Right.
But, it's a fine line, and
well, especially on this level.
Right, exactly.
Especially on the independent level or on the Ring of Honor level, and in some cases for a lot of cases, the TNA level. And then even what I hear that some of the people are making in developmental for WWE, it isn't necessarily a ton of money. Some people still have to have 2 or 3 roommates down in development at WWE. So, I mean, it takes a lot to get to the point where you're making good enough money where that can be your only income. Tommaso, I know that recently, you had gotten out of training and you're focusing completely on wrestling. What made you transition into doing that?
It was more so than anything a long talk that I had with Jessie, my wife, where I kind of viewed it as I just turned 29, so it's like if I'm ever going to make it in wrestling, what I was doing for the last 2 years was not going to work for me because I was working insane hours at my studio and then traveling, and typically what would happen is I would work from 4:30 a.m. I'd wake up and I'd get home at like 9:30 p.m. I'd work that long, 16 whatever hour day on every Thursday. Then I'd get up early Friday and fly wherever I had to go or drive wherever I had to go for shows. So every Friday I'd get to shows and I'd be just spent and put no time or thought process whatsoever into like who's my opponent, what's the match, or anything. A lot of times I'd get to venues and just be, oh, like, I didn't know who I was billed against, or I didn't have time to look up that stuff or find out. Mm-hmm. So I just hit a point where when we talked, I said, I can put the gym work on the back burner, come back to it 5 years from now or 10 years from now, and pick up right where I left off. But I cannot do that with wrestling. I couldn't walk away from wrestling and come back when I'm 40 and hope to succeed. So it really just, that was kind of the final factor. It was like, all right, like we saved enough for the down payment on the house and to kind of get us through for a certain amount of time. And I know when my contract is up with Ring of Honor. So my view is, okay, let me work my ass off and see how good I can do in wrestling. How good I perform, when I put more time to training, more time dieting, more time to just everything that's entailed with it. And let me see how far I can go with this, because I'm definitely a realist. Like, I know how much toll has been taken on my body already. So I'm like, all right, I don't know how many years I have left of this. So, and I've never given myself that fair chance, since being released by WWE at 21, I've never given myself a fair chance of saying, all right, you're going to really focus on this. Since I got released, my focus has constantly been real life with wrestling as a secondary thing. So that really is what it came down to, I guess, and luckily Jessie supports it. I'm not saying we're going to run this course for 3, 4, or 5 years. As soon as I see it having a real negative effect on real life, then we'll make a decision and we'll do it together as a family. But right now, it's something I'm fortunate enough that I can kind of chase full-fledged and just see what happens.
Yeah, you were just over in Europe for a while, and I know that you've gone out to PWG recently, so you've been keeping pretty busy, so I think that you're doing the right thing, definitely. And, I mean, everybody has been having great reviews on all of your matches, and so you should be extremely excited, because I think that you are doing the right thing and giving yourself this chance to really focus on it. What are your goals in wrestling? Where else would you like to go?
Well, I want to travel more. Going to England and Germany was so amazing. I actually saw you guys in England. That was cool. But that was surreal. Like, everything about it was just crazy. And the more I listened to other guys and their stories, like I was listening to Jericho talk with Brian the other day on his podcast and stuff, and I'm just hearing all of their experiences in all these countries that they've wrestled in and different styles, and like it starts to, I don't know, like for me it almost like reignites that passion of saying like, wait, I don't even care where I end up doing wrestling. Like, I just want to be as good at doing this as I possibly can be. And the only way to get better is to go everywhere I can, wrestle every different opponent, every different style, and just keep getting better. And like, the better you get, I mean, the further you're going to get in it. That just kind of comes hand in hand. So I try not lately to focus on like, hey, am I gonna try to leave Ring of Honor or go here or there? It's just about, I want to just be as good as I possibly can wherever I am, whether that's some local independent or it's a great, stage like PWG, or it's in Ring of Honor, which is the hottest company going right now. It's just about having quality opponents and quality matches and just learning.
Mm-hmm. What was your experience like out at PWG?
PWG is insane. It's like, have you guys done PWG yet at all?
I watched.
No, I've only seen it. I've only seen DVDs. It's surreal. Like the DVDs, I won't say they totally don't do it justice, but it's just nothing like being there live. Like the crowd is just, it's this fun atmosphere where they are willing to partake in the event. Like they want to play into it. You don't feel that sense of like being criticized or judged while you're performing. It's like if you were to go to a play of some sort, like you're not criticizing the actors on stage. You're just enjoying the show, and that's what you feel like it is at PWG. Like they're enjoying good guys and bad guys. They're enjoying characters. They're enjoying whatever the style is that you're offering. If you do what you do very well, then they're open to kind of play along with it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I loved it when I went. It was absolutely incredible. It was so fun. It was almost like tongue-in-cheek at times, and the crowd kind of felt like they were involved in it. And there was one point, it was my first time there, and I didn't really know what to expect. And Steen waved at me and got everybody to say hi, Maria, and it was just like ridiculous stuff. But it's so fun. And I do think that the traveling and the memories you make sometimes is the biggest thing. I mean, that's what I took away from when I was in WWE. It's those memories. It's those people that I got to work with, which is insane. It definitely is those memories that you make. So I think you definitely have the right approach to it. So before I let you go, I do have 5 questions that I'm kind of starting to ask all the people we have on. We've already touched on, I think, 1 or 2 of these, but dream opponent is the first question.
Dream opponent. Dream opponent that is working right now that I could actually have the match with would probably be Kurt Angle.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good
guy
one.
Who's not working would probably be Shawn Michaels or... probably Shawn Michaels or Taker, one of the two, but I would say Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle. Okay. What would you do if you weren't a wrestler? We already kind of covered this, but no limits on what you would do.
no limits at all, I would do something with dogs, something with animals. You know, like, I don't know, Dr. Doolittle or whatever, but I would do something with animals.
Harry! Okay, if you were a superhero, what superhero would you be and why?
Oh, man, I don't do superheroes that much.
You could choose.
The coolest superhero from a movie that I would want to play the role of is Thor. I think his part is just awesome.
Yeah, he's pretty badass.
Is he a superhero? He's a superhero, right?
Yeah, he's a superhero.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay, yeah, Thor.
He's got a fucking hammer. He's super.
He's got superpowers. So
he's got super hammers.
Super hammers. Who's your role model?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, see, these are like Dr. Phil type questions.
Yeah.
Superhero is Dr. Phil? I don't
Yeah,
so.
we cut right to the core. Don't fuck around.
Role model. I guess mom and dad for, instilling different qualities. I mean, it'd be hard to just pick one. I would say the two of them combined.
That's what Mike said you would say.
It's not Harry Harrison?
If Harrison came in my life maybe 4 more years earlier, it totally would be That's my best man right there, Harry.
Yeah, oh, I know.
Oh.
I know this.
Harry Harrison's my dog for the listeners.
Who's that guy?
Yeah,
Okay,
a little Boston Terrier.
Adorable Boston Terrier. So cute.
Yeah.
And the last
right on my lap now.
would be, if you could change one thing about wrestling, what would you change?
I would allow kayfabe to still exist.
Nice.
Real full-on kayfabe. Where this interview wasn't happening.
Right.
Because you're a bad guy and I'm a good guy. We have a match coming up.
Yeah, we're wrestling
to that
soon.
extreme.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Could you imagine? I mean, that must have been crazy back in the day. Like,
oh, man, I love the stories of Killer and Harley, and they're like, yeah, heels had their locker, baby faces their locker, see each other in the ring. Like, oh, I would love it.
It's dedication.
It's total dedication. So if anybody wants to follow you, tweet you, annoy you on Facebook.
Before I get to that, can I ask you, I got 2 things here. That one, Jessie had said she needs this to be asked on your podcast to you.
Okay.
I like
Only
this.
because you two are getting married, and we just did get married. So she wants to know if you guys know the answer to this for one another.
Uh-oh.
If you poop, and you take a poop on the potty,
Uh-huh.
and you have to then wipe, do you stand up or do you sit down to wipe?
Well, Maria's going to tell you...
Do you know what Maria does and vice versa?
I don't, because Maria to this day tells me she doesn't poop.
She doesn't poop. Okay, all right. That's a fair answer.
She
but
doesn't.
I know that Mike sits.
Oh, how do you know this?
Because I know.
I'm a sitter.
I know you're totally a sitter.
Yeah, I sit.
They say that all women sit and 50% of men stand and 50% sit.
Oh, really? Well, Maria says she doesn't poop. So
she's like the exception.
Yeah, but I sit. I definitely sit. I'm too lazy to stand.
Yeah, Jesse thought that was important for you two to know.
That is important. I was very surprised that Maria actually knew. Are you watching me poop?
It's actually my
cameras
fetish.
everywhere, man.
Oh, okay. You're watching
and
not only...
Also, if I could, if you don't mind.
Of course,
I want to
anything
meet
you want.
you guys.
This is fun.
I want to. What's that?
I said this is fun, of course.
Okay, I want to leave you guys with a fun story that I've never told to anybody before, but
awesome.
I think it's a few months removed, so I think it's a good time to tell it. So, in early January, I go to Milwaukee for a company called Brew City, and I think it's my first, maybe my second time there, and Jake Roberts is like the special guest that they have. So I go up to him. First time I met him, super cool guy, ask him to watch my match, yada yada. He watches it. When I come back through the curtain, he gives me this huge hug. I mean, he's ecstatic about the match, like really, really enjoyed it, which was just such a cool feeling, of course.
Right.
So at the end of the night, we exchanged numbers, and he's just talking to me about how he wants to help me out in any way he can. Awesome. So the following week or two is the story that really is important here. We've then, at this point, we've texted maybe 2 or 3 times. And he calls me up one day randomly and says, hey, pick up your phone. I got you an interview. I'm like, okay. So he hangs up, and I get nothing. And I get a call from him like 20 minutes later. You stupid son of a bitch, how come you didn't pick up your phone? I was like, dude, what are you talking about? Nobody called me. And now, you sons of bitches, you said you called the kid. He says nobody called him. What the hell's going on? What Ricky did thing are we running, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, what is happening? So he hangs up. I get the call. I do the interview. The interview ends, and Jake tells me he has big plans for me, and he's going to get in touch with me in like a week or so. So I'm like, oh, this is interesting. You know, I'm just kind of riding it out.
Right.
The next week comes, I start getting texts from him saying like, he's got this big thing. It's this big idea. He's got to tell me, you know, are you ready? Are you around? You're around to be by your phone today? So I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm here, man. Whatever you want. So he finally calls me up, and he's going to tell me about his big pitch that he wants to give to WWE in regards to me making my debut for the company.
Okay.
So I find it necessary to say to him, like, hey, just so you know, I am signed right now under a contract, yada, yada.
All right.
I don't even know why I found that necessary, because I already knew where this was going. But I found it necessary to do.
It's professional.
Right. So, anyways, he carries on and you know, kind of goes ahead. And maybe 10, 20 minutes later, I get a call from him. And he says, all right, kid, I lined it all up. I'm meeting with Vince tomorrow. He's like, and here's the idea. You ready? Sit down. Sit down for me.
Sit down.
Like, all right, Jake, I'm sitting. And he goes, all right, so they got this Royal Rumble thing coming up.
Oh,
okay. Like, yeah, I've heard of it. He's like, all right, so this Royal Rumble thing, it's a big pay-per-view. And they got this team right now. It's this big team. It's called the Shield. And, I mean, they're really doing it. They're hot right now. So my idea is that in the Royal Rumble, the Shield's going to eliminate me. So he put himself in the Royal Rumble, which I don't know if you saw the Royal Rumble, especially. He wasn't in it. So
right.
He says the Shield's going to eliminate me. Well, after they eliminate me, I'm going to leave ringside. I'm going to go back up to the entranceway, and I'm going to grab my bag, you know, with the snake. And I'm like, yeah, that's okay. I'm going to bring it down to the ring. Like, yeah, it's going to be just the Shield in the ring, just the 3 of them. Me and my bag. I'm going to throw the bag in the ring at them. I'm like, okay. It's like, all right, here's the part. I'm like, yeah, you're going to come out in a bag. Like, I'm going to what? Yeah, this is it, man. You're going to come out. You're going to be like my protege. You're coming out of the bag. I'm like, okay. He said, then you're going to eliminate 2 of the Shield members, but the 3rd one, he's going to eliminate you. That way we can run with this. WrestleMania, it's going to be the Shield, all 3, versus you and me in a handicap match.
I love it.
So I'm like, okay. And all I'm thinking this whole time is, could you picture Jake Roberts in the shape he's in right now in life, carrying a big bag with you in it, just curled up in a ball? And the guy thinking, oh, clearly that's not a human being. That's a snake.
And throwing it over his shoulder.
Yes, exactly. Literally throwing it. So his idea, he's going to come out of the entranceway and put me down on the rim. Then go back and get me, put me over his shoulder, and walk my ass all the way out the ring. And roll me in there. So, of course, I said, so Jake, I said, when I come out of the bag, like, do you want me to, like, what am I doing? Like, what's my characteristics? Well, yeah, that's my Jake Roberts pitch story that never came to fruition.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
All I can picture is you just curled into a ball in a bag,
that's
waiting.
All I kept thinking of, man.
Waiting for him to pick you up and huck you into the ring over his shoulder. That's
yeah. To this day, I'm trying to line up going down to the house there in Atlanta, spending like a week just to hang out with the guys, because it's one of those things where, like we talked about earlier, there's experiences or money in wrestling, and that's an experience. Like, how do you pass it up?
You have to do that. He wants you in the bag. Like, I wish.
Guy.
I hope he did pitch that to Vince, because that would be.
Could you imagine that pitch?
God damn it! How are you gonna fit the bag over you? That's fucking fantastic.
That's his only concern.
Right.
I'm fine with the kid making the debut. It's going to build to WrestleMania, but how the hell are you going to carry the bag?
I'm okay with him eliminating our biggest stable going right now. That's not a problem, but God damn it, how are you going to lift the bag?
I'm not going to get a guy from NXT to do this role. No. I like it. You're just taking the kid off the street.
He's coming. Oh, that is the greatest story ever. I love it.
Yeah, I love it. What a guy. That's what I got.
Well, I thought that was excellent. And tell Jessie that we knew the answers, and we can't wait to see her. And if anybody wants to follow you or annoy you on Facebook, where would they do so?
Facebook, I accept everybody. It's my name, Tommaso Ciampa, Ciampa, and then on Twitter, it is @Project Ciampa. So yeah, follow me, friend me, do whatever it is.
Watch him on Ring of Honor.
Watch him on Ring of Honor.
Coming up, man.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then June 22nd.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you guys. This has been fun.
Yes, it has. Take care.
I'll see you soon, pal.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, have a good night.
Dun, dun, that is a crazy story.
What in the world?
Awesome.
Did he really like think that would work? That's what I want to know.
That was just so fucking
Was it really
fantastic.
in his head that this will work, or was it like
some of those guys, I wonder.
Yeah, I mean, one too many hits to the head, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. Drugs, sex, hits to the head.
Sex? How would sex do it? What kind of sex are you having?
Mind blowing.
Oh, so that's what
See what I did there?
Brain. Mm-hmm.
See what I did there? Mind blowing sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this week we listened to a few podcasts. We never do this, but we did. We listened to a few podcasts. Santino was on Jericho's podcast, which was awesome. What was the line? They didn't realize how much speed
I was about to generate.
Santino was hilarious. He's so funny. Like, he was funny when I first met him, and he just got funnier and funnier. And I like Jericho's podcast, so everybody go and listen to Jericho's podcast because it's awesome. Mm-hmm. And I definitely liked it a lot. And then Heyman's podcast was something else.
Yep.
It was definitely entertaining on Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast. I'm always so surprised how much Heyman will say.
He says a lot. He says a lot of great information, though. I thoroughly enjoy listening to him talk. He's such a brilliant mind. He really, listening to him motivates you as a wrestler and just as a person who wants to improve their life. And, I don't know. It's just he gets you so fired up listening to him talk. I can see how he had these guys in ECW in the palm of his hand. He really just fires you up. It's all right, let's go fucking take the world on. Mm-hmm. It's awesome.
That's what he was like down at OVW too. I mean,
yeah,
every single person wanted to work as hard as they possibly could for him. And me being so fresh and new when I was down there, that he really taught me a lot about the entertainment industry.
Right.
Not just about the wrestling, but about entertaining as a whole. And it was it's awesome listening to him on the podcast. So definitely it's a must-do, must-listen-to podcast, the Paul Heyman one and definitely the Santino one as well. Do you need to mention your sponsors tonight or no?
No, I'm okay right now.
Are you sure?
I don't have it in front of me, so.
Oh.
But it's SBV Fitness, so go to sbvfitness.com and you can get all type in promo code Prodigy. That's what I do know. But their stuff is really awesome. I mean, while we're talking about it, I go through it like
you had like 17 protein shakes today, so I thought maybe
I
you'd
had
want to talk about it.
I had 4.
Oh, just 4 protein
I
shakes
had
by sbvfitness.com.
Just SBV Fitness. SBVfitness.com is their website. That's not the name of the brand.
I know, but, if you say the website more and more, people will remember it. So I always say the website.
Promo code Prodigy.
I wonder why it's the Prodigy. You're not the Prodigy anymore.
That's why it's a secret code.
So before we get off this podcast, the burning question in everyone's mind is, how do you think your match with Tanahashi went?
I loved it. It was amazing. I loved it. The crowd was amazing. There's been a lot of people that have been saying, "Oh, the crowd didn't sound like the crowd hasn't really translated on pay-per-view." So, but that was one of the greatest wrestling crowds I've ever been in front of. They were so loud. So anyone who's saying the crowd doesn't sound it wasn't fucking there, because the crowd was on their feet all fucking night. And they were awesome. So to those people, shut the fuck up because you weren't there. The crowd was amazing and the match was amazing. And Tanahashi is hands down the greatest person I've ever been in the ring with. He's unbelievable. Everything people say about him is true. Total professional. I'd love to do it again, but I thought the match exceeded my expectations, and I'd love to say that it shut the critics up, but the people who criticize me will never give me any credit. So it wasn't really for them. It was for all the people who do appreciate what I do. So everyone who's reached out to me and has appreciated the match, thank you. That's who I wrestle for. And for everyone who's criticized it, continue fucking yourself.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. So has this inspired you to want to go to Japan even more?
Yeah, I'd love to. I have such a high respect for all those things those guys do, and the whole New Japan promotion came over here, and just a great group of guys, so respectful, so humble, so amazing in the ring that it's just there's just really not enough nice things that I can say about them, because they really are. They're the greatest athletes and the greatest wrestlers, and they just carry themselves as such great human beings, you know.
I think Tommaso's calling back.
He's calling back.
I think so. I think he's calling back. So I told our producer that we'll take the call. So if he calls back, we'll most definitely take it. And you had a match with Elgin on Sunday, and I have to say, it is one of my favorite matches you've ever had.
Oh, thank you. It was for Beyond Wrestling. I really enjoyed it. The match was just fun. It was a mix of two of us. I really enjoy working Elgin. He's another one of those guys who's just super talented. But I thought he showed so much personality in the match that, personality that he doesn't necessarily get the opportunity to show in Ring of Honor. And I don't know. I think it's one of those things that on my end and on his end, people will be like surprised and be like, "Oh shit!" Like people already love Elgin, but I think this is a side of him that they'll see and be like, "Oh, okay, maybe we were wrong about that side of Elgin. Maybe he does, maybe he does have personality and he can talk in this." You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like he really showed people. He really shut up the people who had been criticizing him on that aspect. If that makes any sense. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It was just fun.
I thought both of you guys had a lot of fun.
I thought a blast.
It was a little different than I'm used to seeing out of you two. There were a few different things in it that I thought I wouldn't normally see you do, but you were in there doing it. You were absolutely amazing on Sunday, so I'm putting you over huge.
Thanks.
I apparently want to be on your good side for tomorrow.
Why tomorrow? Why do you have to be on my good side for tomorrow?
Because you have the whole day off tomorrow.
I do have the day off tomorrow. It's just me and you, baby.
I know. I'm excited. So before we get off of here, looks like maybe Tommaso was calling back and is no longer calling back. But
calling back.
I don't know. Maybe he really wanted to come back on. Maybe he had something to say. something important. But we'll have him back on eventually. So, I definitely want to do a follow-up. But you can follow me on Twitter at Maria L. Kanellis. You can follow me on like me on Facebook at official Maria Kanellis. You can like us on Facebook for the podcast. It's Mike and Maria Podcast on Facebook. You can go to my website. That's mariakanellis.com. And you can also get my T-shirts on ProWrestlingTees.com.
Oh, fancy.
I know. I'm so fancy. So fancy. You can get Mike Bennett shirts on RingOfHonorWrestling.com.
You can.
So if you want to get a Mike Bennett T-shirt, you can get it there.
Go get it.
And where can people catch you, follow you, blah, blah, blah?
You can't catch me anywhere. I'm too fast. But you can
No, you're
follow
actually
me.
slow. You are the pokiest man ever.
Whatever. I'm fast. So you can't catch me
Slow.
because
Pokey man.
I'm really fast. So
Pokey Mike.
don't even try to catch me. But you can follow me on Twitter at Real Mike Bennett, and you can look at my pictures that I take.
I thought you were going to say penis. You can look at my penis.
If you want to see my penis pictures, follow me on Instagram at The Real Mike Bennett. Make sure you have your magnifying glasses out. And then
multiple, not just one. Multiple.
You can follow me and my penis on Facebook, and like my penis, and poke my penis on Facebook. At Mike Bennett. And then, again, don't try to catch me, though, because, I'm too fast. My penis is fast, too.
Your penis is fast, too. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week. We have a very special guest. I'm excited about it. Can we announce it? Should we announce it?
Yeah, we can announce it. I'm sure he'll make it.
Okay, you do it.
No, you do it. You set it up. Nope, you set
I
it
did,
up.
but you know more because it's a Boston thing, dude.
We will have from 98.5 The Sports Hub. He hosts the 10 to 2 p.m. show with Scott Zolak. We will have Mr. Andy Gresh. He's a big wrestling fan, huge sports fan, obviously, because he's a sports broadcaster. We will talk sports. We will talk wrestling. We will talk everything under the sun. He's a great guy.
We will talk Blackhawks.
We will talk probably Bruins, not Blackhawks. And so have your questions. Have your questions
ready. Did they
ready.
win tonight?
No, they are getting blown the fuck out, and it's amazing.
No!
Yeah. So, yes, have your questions. Patriots, Celtics, Red Sox, Bruins, anything Boston sports and anything pro wrestling. Seriously, text them or whatever. Tweet them over to us, and we'll ask Mr. Andy Gresh all these questions. So it should be a fun show.
All right. Well, thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Off with my head, fell in love again. Off with my head, fell in love again. You lose your head, you lose your heart. Off with my head, fell in love again. Off with my head, fell in love again. You lose your head, you lose your heart. Fall apart.
This has been a production of fanoff.com.
And that's perfect.